materials from the rocks, or
I find that
you know,
basically in my
more of the rarer
experience,
stuff?
if you get about one rare per hour on average of SRVing. And it can go up or down,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I suppose it also depends on whether you're exclusively hunting for something like polonium and you're only going after metallic meteorites to get it then as well.
You
That's
know
what I
what would be
do.
cool? If they
Well,
would make it like, for example, you need something, you favorite that thing, and the engineer would give you a tip which faction offers that for certain mission.
hmm. I actually don't pin any of my blueprints because I always feel like that if you pin it, the game like trolls you and make sure you don't
You
get the
really
things you
want
need.
this, so we're gonna make sure that you can't get it. And then when you
Oh yeah,
do, the roll will be horrific.
yeah, exactly. You know, Pretty Orange Jesus. Other than that, though, I like it. It's a bit RNG. Like it's a bit too RNG sometimes for me, but overall, I feel like it's good. It's a step in the right direction
I think
for
that
Elite because it's adding more interesting stuff to the game.
well, it creates a certain uniqueness to everyone's ship. I mean, both
Oh
through the
yeah.
meta. I mean, there are different ways. Like you said, you could use efficient weapon. You could deal with the heat, thermal attacks. Try and limit your heat dissipation and things like that. Or you can go a completely different route. And also because of the RNG, different people have different builds necessarily. I mean, maybe that's not the best way of going about it, but I mean, if this is supposed to be an immersion sort of system, then it should be immersive. And a lot of things are kind of luck. If you get a good car, you get a good piece of machinery. It's somewhat luck sometimes.
Hmm.
So if immersion is their goal, then they've maybe accidentally fallen upon it.
I would like though as well more ship
Well,
customization as well, like appearance.
I mean, yeah, it there should be some difference, but uh, it should be more like, I don't know. I would like that if you select some certain stuff, that you could have a slider to go for one thing, but it would worsen up the other thing. So you would try to uh, search for the your perfect spot, and maybe if you put better materials, these differences would be more manageable. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you all could not get the same out output, but you could maybe after all this random thing, you could little fix up the sliders, but it would mean that other sliders would go down.
Yeah. So I mean, well, there is the thing where you're going to be able to remove bad secondary effects at the cost of reputation.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Like the favor system they put in, it's definitely better than before. 'Cause at least now, if you want, even though you have to work, like you have to work harder to get complete, like a complete build with everything you want. Though it is going to be, I'm, I don't know whether people are lucky or they have a lot of time in their hands, but people that have like all heat weapons, I don't know where they get the time to continuously like grind to rank 5 to then, roll. And if they don't get thermal, they have to, ask for a favor.
Yeah.
I've been very unlucky when it comes to special effects, though. I think I've got like one or two, and that's it. While other people get loads. It's very
Yeah, same here.
kind of sad.
Also, some of the items like special legacy firmware, they
Uh,
could increase them because it's
uh,
like sometimes you can get like 4 or 5, and the next day you can get weeks nothing.
So how are you guys finding those firmwares, especially the higher end ones, the modified firmware, the cracked industrial firmware? Have you guys had
Cracked
any
industrial I
success?
can get. It's
On a station. I mean,
Whoops.
planet.
it's the other stuff I don't like. It's I've been avoiding grinding weapons and kind of going for the more kind of building up my ship, kind of making it faster, making it tankier, and then worrying about weapons after. Only because those like firmwares are just it can be a pain to get, especially since the base raid. Whenever we went to do one of the base raid, it bugged out. So even though we killed everything, it was still killing me. It's like, oh. I think to solve the it's specialized legacy firmware, it's modified embedded. They're like I think it's modified embedded I need, and it's quite difficult to get. If they attack, high security 3+ bases, and it can be just a pain. And they don't really spawn emissions that much. I think they should allow like they should be more common to get emissions, not too common, but they should definitely be more common because
Yeah,
like the whole engineer system kind of forces people to play parts of the game that they mightn't particularly enjoy. I myself, I enjoy driving around on the planet's surface and prospecting, but the base assaults aren't really something I'm completely into because it can be very like time consuming and sometimes it can just mess up completely, depends. And there's also like some mice mining you kind of have to do too to get specific like materials or like high lithium and all that
See, what the problem is
junk.
each of these is an opportunity for a story. Before you do any action in the
Totally.
game, you should basically write a story that describes everything you did and you're about to do, and then you go do it.
it would be cool. For example, if it that would be combined with missions. Uh, they at least that you know that you will get it in the end when you get to the certain part. It would be more bearable uh, because the problem is uh, you don't want to do something and there is no guarantee that you will get it if you go there. But if there would be a mission, you know that in the end you will get it as a reward.
Yeah, that's a very good point because like you could go to one of these bases and you could scan it and there's a complete chance that you'll get something that you will not need at all or it's not the
Yeah,
thing you're actually looking for and there's a cooldown on how many times you can do the bases and the high security bases are all over the place, so you kind of have to jump halfway across the bubble or all over the bubble to try and get a specific thing you need as well.
exactly. And
Also, you
also,
have to do it by yourself a lot of the time too, because Elite doesn't really promote group play all that much, so it can. I feel more for the people that play on their own. I think it might be a lot harder for them to get these things than it would be for us, because we can just group with a group of people. While if you're on your own, it's probably going to be a lot more difficult to attack these bases, considering how strong the anti-air defenses and stuff are as well.
mm, also the player trading hub. I don't know why they're so against it. It would
I
be.
can see why.
Player trading? You mean directly between two players? It's to prevent gold
Uh,
farming.
uh no, no,
Yeah,
no.
but there's a way you can
But
avoid that too.
yeah, without credits, you just I don't know. Uh, somebody offers this amount of materials for special legacy firmware.
Oh,
You
just
know?
trading materials, but not actually anything that has
Yeah,
value.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I was gonna say, otherwise, basically platinum or palladium will become the.
No, no, just for materials and data. For example, you somebody, for example, already have rank A FSD and stuff like that, and he doesn't need really special legacy firmwares. He's just holding them there, and maybe he needs something else, and so they would just trade between each other for a certain amount.
that and a storage system be quite a storage system. I'd say is definitely something that needs to happen because at the minute
Mm-hmm.
it's really annoying having specific items on me and
Well,
then not able
I'm in favor of a
to store
storage
them.
system, but you should have to pay fees to store, and it should be scaled based on the item so that it's not regressive on lower level players. And you should actually also have to pay port fees to take your ship somewhere. I mean, if you look at what the real life analogy is, private entities have to pay a port fee when they take their ship into port to pay for the all the infrastructure, and
No,
somehow we're
Well,
getting
I'm
this
already
all for
paying fuel
free.
costs and stuff as well. Don't forget
Yeah, but the
and
fuel costs,
repair.
the fuel costs are, especially that was another thing, is the fuel costs are also quite regressive. Fuel costs are only really meaningful to extreme newbies, and to higher level players, the fuel costs are absolutely inconsequential. And if
No, I think they
they,
should be for higher level players, considering hydrogen's the most like one of the most abundant. And you can just get hydrogen anywhere, and that's what we use for fuel. So it shouldn't really be too expensive.
okay, but the port fees, I still think that it would be interesting. And I think if they made it large enough for large ships, then it could motivate traders to trade at another station in the same system that doesn't necessarily have the best prices. So there's a balance between the prices of the commodities and the cost of the port fee. Oh, and sorry, what I meant that was you scale the port fees also by the traffic of that station. So if it's a really busy, overworked station, it raises its port fees to try and distribute the traffic to other stations.
How expensive would they be though? Because it can start to get very,
But I'm just coming up with the
very
idea, not
expensive.
the. I mean,
what about
it could be up to like 10,000, 20,000 for large ships. I'd see that as reasonable.
Yeah, I could
what
live with that.
what about if, for example, we got an option with player minor factions, and which means we're all doing the PGS work for player minor factions to take over the systems and bases. With this, you would also get an extra storage for your materials and stuff. And if some other faction takes it over, you also lose the loot. You know?
I feel like a group system needs to be implemented that kind of ties in maybe with
Yeah,
if they have a minor faction because like then the amount of stuff you could do in game regarding like groups, if you had a group screen that allowed people to join and groups and stuff, I feel like the average Joe playing the game might be like, oh well, obviously this game's a bit more lively than what I've been seeing because there's all these different groups I can join.
exactly.
Also will be handier for someone in charge of a group because you can actually see who's online in game at the time. Easier, you can administrate, you could do anything really, the
Yeah,
BGS. If it's
send
tied with
them
the
an order.
BGS, you could have a group warehouse, like other games. Maybe the leader maintains a fee for that, whatever, when you have to pay to expand it. But if it was tied in with the background sim, that means that, you could have a
Exactly.
warehouse in every station you control, as long as it's your minor faction that controls it, for example.
Hmm. And for example, you could also send your own members that join that group a mission like now NPCs does in Super Cruise. We need this mission, blah blah blah. They could accept it and get some reward.
Yeah. As long as we could administrate that kind of system, then it's perfect.
Yeah, then it would be kind of an actual, almost sandbox game, not a concrete uh, box game.
Hmm.
So how do you think engineers affected other aspects of the game? I mean, a lot of people have talked about how it's affected power play. Certainly, the undermining levels have decreased quite a bit.
I think
Hmm.
it's made engineers update as a whole has made a lot of other things harder. The bulk trading your imperial slaves to Point A to point B is harder now with the NPCs.